Humanity had always been the underdog, a young species teetering on the brink of the unknown. Earth, isolated within the fringe of the galaxy, was a small blue dot surrounded by an indifferent universe. The galactic powers saw humans as a curiosity, a species too primitive to matter. It was almost laughable until the invaders arrived. The alien warlord, Lord Thrax, had destroyed countless worlds in his wake. A conqueror with a cold, calculating mind, he had obliterated civilizations that dared oppose him. His forces were vast, equipped with technologies far beyond anything humanity could hope to match. Earth was next. The first signs of their approach were subtle. Strange readings from deep space, intercepted transmissions that hinted at something massive, and then a sudden, unnatural silence. Satellites went dark. Communications with the outer colonies were cut off. People looked to the skies, and they saw nothing. But the fear of an impending storm had begun. General Murad Ellis, a battle-hardened leader from Earth's military, was among the first to understand the gravity of the situation. She had seen the intelligence reports, studied the enemy's brutal tactics, and knew that no matter how much humanity had advanced, they were hopelessly outgunned. The might of Lord Thrax's armada was like nothing they had ever faced. But there was one thing the aliens had overlooked: humanity's refusal to accept defeat. In the dead of night, when the world was asleep, humanity's first blow was struck. It wasn't a fleet of starships or overwhelming firepower, but rather an act of pure, undiluted defiance. An underground resistance movement, fueled by a burning desire to protect Earth's fragile existence, launched a series of guerrilla attacks against alien outposts. Using makeshift bombs and repurposed human technology, they caught the invaders off guard. It wasn't much, a few strikes against alien supply lines, some sabotage to their communications network, but the psychological impact was monumental. For the first time in history, an alien race was faced with the unpredictable, dogged determination of humanity. The invaders were forced to pause, recalibrate. They had underestimated Earth, and it was a mistake they couldn't afford to make again. This small victory rippled out. Earth's militaries were brought into the fold, and humanity rallied behind the cause. Scientists worked feverishly to reverse engineer the alien technology left behind in the wake of the initial invasion. Weapons were built, defenses fortified, and soldiers trained. But most importantly, humanity's greatest weapon was realized: its creativity and adaptability in the face of unimaginable odds. General Ellis stood on the steps of Earth's newly fortified command center, her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the stars flickered like distant promises. "We may be outnumbered," she said, her voice steady but full of conviction. "But we are not outmatched. We are humanity. We fight, and we win." The invaders may have believed they were coming to crush a weak, insignificant species, but in that moment, they were about to discover that humanity was no longer a side note in the grand cosmic narrative. They were the storm, and the storm was just beginning. The shock of humanity's unexpected defiance rippled through the galaxy. Lord Thrax, once supremely confident in his conquest of lesser worlds, now found himself questioning the wisdom of underestimating Earth. His fleet, vast and relentless, prepared for another strike, but this time they were wary. They knew the humans would fight. What they didn't know was how. Humanity, though still technologically outmatched, had gained something far more dangerous: confidence. Their victory over the aliens' initial assault wasn't just a tactical surprise. It was a psychological awakening. The invaders might have superior firepower, but humanity had something else: unpredictability. The human mind was adaptable, capable of turning adversity into strength. General Murad Ellis, who had once fought in the shadows, emerged as one of the war's key figures. The quiet resolve in her eyes hid a mind sharpened by years of experience and an unyielding will to protect her people. After their first successful strike, she had gathered the brightest minds in Earth's scientific community, instructing them to analyze the alien technology left behind in the wake of the initial invasion. What they discovered was nothing short of extraordinary. Humanity's engineers, given little time but armed with fierce determination, cracked the alien code. Using the pieces they had scavenged from the enemy's wreckage, they began building weapons far beyond anything humans had ever dreamed of. Starships that could rival the aliens' battleships, defensive shields that could withstand even the most devastating strikes, and cutting-edge energy weapons that made their old firearms seem like toys. The human ingenuity that had long been Earth's most overlooked asset had finally found its full expression. In parallel, a new kind of warfare emerged. Unlike the alien forces, who fought with the arrogance of an ancient empire, humanity fought with grit and resourcefulness. A massive underground resistance movement, now unified by a common cause, launched a series of devastating guerrilla raids against the alien occupation. While the aliens relied on their superior numbers and firepower, humans struck fast, outwitting their opponents at every turn. There were no rules in this war, only survival. The greatest of these attacks came when a group of human operatives infiltrated a key alien command center on the far side of the moon. A small elite team, armed with stolen alien tech and human-made weapons, executed a flawless strike, disabling an entire fleet's communication array. The result was chaos. The alien invaders, previously so coordinated, were now in disarray, scrambling to communicate and coordinate. At the heart of this operation was Lieutenant John Cale, a former hacker-turned-soldier. Cale's knowledge of alien systems was unparalleled, and it was his initiative that turned the tide. By shutting down the alien command network, he delivered a blow that sent shockwaves through their military. The operation had been a gamble, a calculated risk that could have ended in total failure, but it had worked. The victory was brief but pivotal. As news of the strike spread, Earth's leaders began to realize that humanity was no longer just fighting to survive, it was fighting to win. The morale boost among Earth's forces was immediate, and the fear of their impending defeat began to turn into a resolve for vengeance. For the first time, humanity was setting the tone of the war. The aliens, now facing a problem they hadn't anticipated, had underestimated the one thing they couldn't conquer: the human spirit. In the midst of this growing resistance, General Ellis stood at the helm of Earth's new unified military, watching the stars above. The battle for Earth was no longer just a fight for survival. It was the beginning of a larger war for the future of the galaxy. They had struck first, and the storm was gaining strength. "Let them think they're still in control," she muttered to herself, her voice cold with determination. "Soon, they'll learn that the storm can't be stopped." The storm was no longer a whisper in the void of space. It was a roaring tempest, gaining strength with every passing moment. Humanity, once seen as a naive, primitive species, had transformed into a force to be reckoned with. The alien invaders, led by Lord Thrax, were beginning to realize they had made a fatal mistake underestimating Earth. What had begun as a small series of skirmishes had now escalated into a full-scale war, and humanity was proving to be the most unpredictable and dangerous foe they had ever encountered. General Mara Ellis, now regarded as humanity's unshakable pillar of leadership, stood before Earth's newly constructed war room. Her mind was sharp as ever, constantly assessing their next move. The military, bolstered by new technologies and strategies derived from both human ingenuity and alien tech, had taken the initiative. They no longer fought just to defend. They fought to push the invaders back, and they were succeeding. Humanity's recent victories had shaken the alien powers, and now they were paying the price for their arrogance. But despite their setbacks, the alien warlord, Lord Thrax, wasn't about to retreat. He was relentless, a being forged through centuries of conquest. He had seen empires rise and fall, and humanity's defiance only fueled his desire for domination. If anything, he considered this a challenge, one that would only make his eventual victory all the more satisfying. But even he couldn't have predicted the storm that was coming. In the weeks that followed, humanity launched an audacious offensive, an attack on the alien-controlled colony of Lunterus, a key staging ground for their invasion forces. It was a strategic location, a linchpin in the enemy's supply line. If they could take it, they would cripple the invaders' ability to launch further attacks on Earth. But Lunterus was heavily fortified, guarded by thousands of alien soldiers and fleets of warships. It seemed like an impossible task. But humanity didn't play by the rules. Human commanders, led by General Ellis, formulated a daring plan, a two-pronged assault. A decoy fleet would draw the bulk of the alien forces away from the planet's surface, while a smaller elite force would infiltrate the planet's defenses. The ground assault would be led by Colonel Iden Rhodes, an experienced and ruthlessly efficient soldier who had become a legend in the human resistance for his ability to leave under pressure. The attack began under the cover of darkness, a tactic that had already proven successful in previous strikes. The decoy fleet, composed of hastily upgraded human ships, engaged the enemy in a desperate battle on the outskirts of the colony. The alien forces, thinking they were facing the full brunt of humanity's fleet, moved to intercept. Meanwhile, Colonel Rhodes and his team of crack soldiers made their way to the heart of Lunterus's defense grid. The operation was a race against time. Every second counted. Every misstep could result in complete annihilation. As they infiltrated the planet's surface, they encountered fierce resistance. Alien warriors who had grown accustomed to subjugating worlds were now forced to fight tooth and nail to hold on to what they believed was rightfully theirs. But they were no match for the human resolve. As explosions rocked the surface of Lunterus, and the decoy fleet drew more and more of the alien forces into a brutal engagement, it became clear humanity's plan was working. Colonel Rhodes and his team reached the heart of the alien command center, where they initiated a series of precise strikes, crippling the aliens' power core. A chain reaction ensued, sending shockwaves across the planet's defense systems. In the space above Lunterus, the decoy fleet had lured Lord Thrax's flagship into a trap. When the remaining human ships, now reinforced by reinforcements, ambushed Thrax's fleet, the warlord found himself facing defeat. His ships were battered, his forces scattered. The galaxy's most feared conqueror had just suffered a humiliating blow. But the real victory came on the ground. Colonel Rhodes, despite taking heavy casualties, had managed to complete the mission, taking control of Lunterus and signaling a turning point in the war. As the alien forces retreated in disarray, humanity seized control of the colony, establishing a foothold in enemy territory for the first time. The news of the victory spread like wildfire through Earth and its colonies. Humanity's resilience and creativity had once again defied expectations. The galaxy's most powerful warlord had been forced to retreat, and the storm, now fully unleashed, was showing no signs of stopping. As General Ellis stood before her troops in the aftermath of the battle, her voice was calm, yet filled with an unshakable determination. "This is just the beginning," she said. "They thought we were weak. They thought we were a passing storm. But now, they know who we are." And in the hearts of the human soldiers, in the spirit of every man, woman, and child watching from Earth's surface, a single thought burned: we are the storm, and we will conquer the infinite. The victory at Lunterus marked a pivotal turning point in the war, but it also raised the stakes for both humanity and their alien adversaries. Humanity had shown that they were capable of striking back against the seemingly unstoppable alien forces, and now the galaxy's power players took notice. Lord Thrax, bruised and humiliated, retreated to the dark corners of the galaxy to lick his wounds, while other alien factions watched carefully, unsure of the implications of this human uprising. In the wake of Lunterus, humanity found itself in a strange position. For the first time, they were no longer just trying to survive. They were fighting to dominate, to ensure their place in the galaxy. The time had come to take the fight to the heart of the alien empire. But humanity's leaders knew the risks. The alien empire, though reeling from the loss, still commanded overwhelming strength. A full-scale invasion of their homeworld would be a death sentence if they weren't careful. General Murray Ellis, more determined than ever, understood that the next step was critical. It wasn't enough to win battles. They needed to shatter the alien empire's morale, to show the galaxy that humanity was more than just a nuisance. In the weeks following Luntaris, Earth's military forces prepared for a mission that would send shockwaves across the galaxy, a direct assault on one of the alien empire's most critical strategic outposts. The target was a powerful, heavily fortified shipyard in the Outer Rim, where the alien fleet was being replenished and reinforced. This shipyard, known as Sarmak Station, was considered the lifeblood of the alien war machine. Without it, the Empire's fleets would grind to a halt. Taking it would cripple the enemy's ability to wage war for months, if not years. General Ellis chose a bold strategy, a multi-pronged attack designed to overwhelm the station's defenses with speed and surprise. The first phase involved a high-tech stealth fleet, led by Lieutenant Kell, who had proven himself invaluable during the earlier campaigns. The second phase was a series of guerrilla attacks from human resistance forces on nearby moons, distracting the station's forces and forcing them to split their defenses. The third and final phase would see the human fleet, their most advanced ships, armed with newly developed energy weapons, delivering the fatal blow. As the mission commenced, it became clear that the aliens had underestimated humanity's resolve once again. The stealth fleet, led by Kale, slipped past the station's outer defenses unnoticed. They planted bombs on the station's critical systems, rendering much of its power grid useless. But as they executed their strikes, something unexpected happened. A spy, one of the human soldiers, was revealed to be working for the alien empire. The betrayal sent a ripple of confusion through the human ranks. There was no time to dwell on it, though. The mission had to continue. The guerrilla strikes on the nearby moons were brutal but effective. They tore through alien patrols, causing chaos and forcing them to waste precious resources. Meanwhile, the main fleet, with General Ellis at the helm, advanced on Sarmak Station. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships, armed with alien tech and driven by sheer will, fought with a ferocity that shook the foundations of the enemy's arrogance. Lord Thrax's forces, once invincible, were now fighting for their lives against an enemy they couldn't predict. At the height of the battle, as humanity's forces closed in on Sarmak Station's central reactor, General Ellis faced a difficult decision. The spy had planted a devastating bomb within the station's core, one that would destroy the entire station and potentially take out a significant portion of humanity's fleet. The clock was ticking. With no other options left, Ellis made the call. She ordered the full evacuation of her fleet, knowing that it was the only way to preserve their future. The explosion that followed was cataclysmic. Sarmak Station was torn apart in a massive blast, and with it, the alien war machine suffered a crippling blow. But even in victory, humanity paid a heavy price. The fleet had suffered casualties, their ships damaged, and their momentum slowed. Yet they had proven a crucial point. They were not to be trifled with. Lord Thrax, watching from his distant command center, felt the weight of his growing frustration. His empire was not invincible, not anymore. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted, and the storm humanity had unleashed was just beginning to gather more strength. As General Ellis surveyed the aftermath of the battle, her voice was steady, but filled with a hard edge. "This is our galaxy now," she said, her gaze fixed on the stars. "And we will not let anyone take it from us." Humanity had come to the galaxy's stage, not as beggars or slaves, but as conquerors in their own right. The storm was no longer just a whisper. It was the sound of thunder, and the universe would tremble before it. The galaxy had been rocked by the destruction of Sarmak Station, and the shockwaves rippled far beyond the remnants of the alien shipyard. Humanity had struck a devastating blow to the alien empire, one that would reverberate across the cosmos for years to come. The once feared alien war machine, long thought invincible, had been severely crippled. But with victory came the realization that the war was far from over. The aliens, humiliated and enraged, would not surrender easily. General Mara Ellis stood in the command center aboard the flagship Vigilance, gazing out into the stars, her mind racing with the implications of their recent triumph. The destruction of XR-Mac had dealt a heavy blow, but the alien empire was vast and resourceful. Lord Thrax, though wounded, would not rest until humanity was crushed beneath his boot. Ellis knew that the storm they had unleashed could soon be met with a tempest of retaliation. "General," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Colonel Iden Rhodes, his face grim. "We've just received intel from our scouts. Thrax is preparing for a counterattack. He's bringing in reinforcements from the core worlds." Ellis turned slowly, her face hardening. She had expected this. Lord Thrax, despite his arrogance, was a tactical genius. The loss of XR-Mac would only fuel his rage, but it would also make him more dangerous. He would be planning his revenge with the precision of a predator stalking its prey. "We've been fighting a series of skirmishes and hit-and-run battles," Ellis replied. "Now it's time for the next phase. We've hit them hard, but we need to make sure they understand one thing. Humanity doesn't retreat. We go on the offensive. We don't just win battles. We make them fear us." Rhodes nodded, his expression reflecting the same unyielding resolve that had driven him through countless battles. "Understood, General. I'll start mobilizing our fleets and coordinating with the resistance cells on the outer rim." The plan was clear. They would strike deep into alien territory, attacking key supply lines and cutting off reinforcements before they could reach Lord Thrax. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. This was about breaking the back of the alien empire and proving once and for all that humanity would not be crushed. The human fleets, armed with the advanced technology they had scavenged from the wreckage of alien ships, surged forward. The battle for the future of the galaxy was no longer a matter of survival. It had become a war for dominance, a contest for the soul of the stars. And humanity, once thought weak and insignificant, had found its strength. The first strike came at the mining colony of Zitherus, a critical location for the alien war effort. The planet was rich in resources essential for building the alien fleets, and its loss would deal a significant blow to their war machine. As the human fleet arrived in orbit, they encountered minimal resistance, an indication that Lord Thrax was still reorganizing his forces. This was humanity's chance to hit hard and fast. Led by Colonel Rhodes, a task force of elite soldiers descended on the surface, coordinating with local resistance fighters who had been waiting for the opportunity to strike. The fighting was fierce, but the humans had the element of surprise and superior tactics. With each strike, each victory, they carved deeper into the alien-controlled territories. But as the battle for Zitherus raged on, Lord Thrax's counteroffensive began to take shape. His fleets, previously scattered, now formed up into a massive armada. The storm that humanity had unleashed was about to meet its first true test, a direct confrontation with Lord Thrax himself. The alien warlord, having regained his composure and gathered his forces, now sought to crush humanity in one fell swoop. His fleet, enormous and heavily fortified, moved toward Earth's home system, intending to wipe out humanity's forces in one overwhelming assault. Back at Earth's capital, General Ellis prepared for the inevitable clash. She knew that this would be their most dangerous battle yet, the moment where humanity would either rise as the true power of the galaxy or fall beneath the might of an empire that had already conquered countless worlds. "This is it," Ellis said quietly to her assembled commanders. "We take the fight to them. We've shaken their foundation, but now we break it. The galaxy will know that humanity is not to be underestimated." The human fleet, now battle-hardened and fueled by the rage of their past victories, prepared to meet Thrax's forces head-on. It would be a fight like no other, one that would decide the fate of not only Earth, but of every civilization across the stars. As the two fleets closed in on each other, the first salvo was fired, and the storm of war became a tempest that would echo through the galaxy forever. The wrath of humanity had been unleashed, and there was no turning back. The clash between humanity and Lord Thrax's forces erupted with cataclysmic fury. Earth's fleet, composed of their most advanced warships, faced off against the might of the alien empire's retaliation. The stars above Earth became a battlefield, illuminated by the violent flash of weapons fire and the burning wreckage of ships. It was the storm's eye, and neither side would relent. General Mara Ellis stood at the helm of Vigilance, watching the battle unfold with the intensity of a woman who had lived through war her entire life. Her gaze was steady, unwavering, as humanity's greatest test was laid bare before her. The alien armada, a force greater than any humanity had yet faced, loomed before them, massive, implacable, and ruthless. But Ellis had fought too many battles to be intimidated by their size. "Colonel Rhodes, status report," Ellis demanded, her voice firm, though tinged with a quiet urgency. "Shielding holding at 80%, General. Weapons are charging. We've got their forward fleet engaging our decoy ships, but they're closing in fast," Rhodes replied. "We need to give it everything we've got, or we won't hold them back." Ellis took a deep breath. The decoy fleet had drawn Thrax's attention, just as planned, but the bulk of the alien armada was now bearing down on Earth's forces. She had ordered a bold maneuver, draw them in close, and then strike with everything humanity had. But even with their powerful weapons and superior tactics, the risk of failure hung like a dark cloud over her. "Execute the plan. We hold them here, or we lose everything," Ellis said, her eyes hardening. As Vigilance and the rest of Earth's fleet advanced toward the alien armada, a fierce, almost surreal calm seemed to fall over the battle. For a moment, time stretched, each ship, each maneuver, a heartbeat in the vast expanse of space. The stars themselves seemed to dim in the shadow of the approaching conflict. Then it began. The first salvo came from humanity's fleet, energy weapons that had been reverse-engineered from alien technology. The beams of concentrated energy tore through the void, crashing into the shields of the alien vessels with brutal force. Despite the alien fleet's overwhelming numbers, the damage was substantial, their shields flickering under the sustained barrage. But Thrax, ever the strategist, was quick to adapt. His flagship, Harbinger of Eternity, loomed at the center of the formation, its weapons blistering outward. The enemy fire was deadly, devastating volleys that shredded human ships, sending debris spiraling through space. In the face of such overwhelming power, humanity's ships endured, firing back with everything they had. General Ellis' voice was cold as steel. "Give them no quarter. We've come too far for mercy." Colonel Rhodes, aboard his ship Revenant, issued orders to the fleet. "Move in. We engage with full force. No retreat." The battle raged for hours, an unrelenting exchange of fire between the two fleets. Humanity's ships, though smaller and less numerous, used their superior agility and advanced tactics to outmaneuver the slower alien warships. But despite their resilience, they were outgunned. The Vigilance shook under heavy fire, its shields flickering dangerously, and its hull groaned as explosions rocked the ship. As the battle continued, the war seemed to narrow into a single moment of decision. General Ellis knew that this was the moment they had been waiting for. The alien forces had underestimated humanity's willingness to fight, but more importantly, they had underestimated human ingenuity. "We're losing the upper hand," Rhodes shouted over comms, his voice tense with urgency. "We need a diversion. Now." Ellis, eyes blazing, made the call. "Prepare the second wave. We need to collapse their flanks." The human fleet made a desperate, last-ditch effort to turn the tide. At her command, a portion of the fleet, previously hidden within the asteroid belt, launched a surprise strike. The newly outfitted stealth ships, armed with a devastating array of experimental weapons, tore through the aliens' vulnerable flanks. The surprise attack sent shockwaves through the alien armada, creating openings in their formation. The shift in momentum was palpable. As the aliens scrambled to adjust, Earth's fleet capitalized on the opportunity, breaking through their lines with newfound ferocity. Vigilance, having withstood multiple blows, came face to face with Harbinger of Eternity, the flagship of Lord Thrax. The battle between the two ships was intense, a microcosm of the greater war. The skies themselves seemed to burn as Vigilance's guns hammered against the alien ship's shields, and Thrax's retaliatory strikes cracked against Earth's defenses. Lord Thrax himself, watching from his command center, realized the true weight of humanity's resolve. He had underestimated them. They were not just a race of survivors. They were conquerors in their own right. And now, for the first time in the war, he felt the distinct taste of fear. With one final, coordinated push, humanity's forces began to break through the alien lines. The storm they had unleashed was unstoppable, and Lord Thrax, wounded and weary, was left with no choice but to retreat. As the alien armada scattered, retreating into the depths of space, General Ellis allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The battle had been brutal, and their survival uncertain, but humanity had proven once again that they would not go down without a fight. "This war isn't over," Ellis muttered, her gaze fixed on the retreating alien ships. "But today, we've shown the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." And the storm continued to rage. The universe was in turmoil. Lord Thrax's retreat was a blow to his empire, but the alien warlord had not been defeated. Instead, he had retreated to the fringes of known space, regrouping his forces and preparing for the inevitable final confrontation with humanity. The galaxy, once fractured by the turmoil of war, now watched with bated breath as both sides fortified their positions. General Mara Ellis, standing in the command center of Vigilance, understood that the storm they had unleashed had reached its peak. No more battles, no more skirmishes. This was the moment where it would all be decided. If humanity were to survive, they had to deal the final blow to Lord Thrax's empire, a blow that would shatter the invaders' grip on the galaxy forever. The strategic maps of the galaxy flickered before Ellis. The alien empire had pulled back to their homeworld, a place known as Tashmarak, a heavily fortified planet at the heart of their empire. The planet was protected by the most advanced technology the aliens had, including defenses far beyond anything humanity had encountered. But that didn't matter now. Humanity had already proven that they could overcome the odds, and this final assault would be no different. "Colonel Rhodes," Ellis said, her voice firm, "prepare the fleet. We're going in. We take Tashmarak, and we end this war." Rhodes, who had been by her side through every battle, nodded. He knew the gravity of what was about to happen. The Vigilance would lead the assault, followed by their fleet, a mixture of human warships, resistance fighters, and advanced technologies scavenged from the alien wreckage. This would be their most dangerous mission yet. They would face Thrax's full strength in the very heart of enemy territory. As the fleets assembled, one by one, the tension on the bridge of Vigilance was palpable. Each officer, each soldier knew the cost of failure. The fate of their world, of the galaxy, depended on this assault. The final journey to Tashmarak took days, and the closer they came, the more imposing the alien defenses became. Massive space stations surrounded the planet, along with an armada of warships. The enemy was waiting for them, but General Ellis had a plan, one that would turn the tide of battle in humanity's favor. "Listen up," Ellis barked to her crew. "We're going in hard and fast. We can't afford to play it safe. Take out their outer defenses, then we hit their capital city with everything we've got. Rhodes, lead the ground assault." "Understood, General," Colonel Rhodes replied, his expression unwavering. The moment of truth arrived. Humanity's fleet entered the atmosphere of Tashmarak with a deafening roar of engines and weapons. The alien forces, expecting a more calculated strike, were thrown into chaos as Earth's fleet hit them with everything they had. The opening salvo shook the alien ships to their core, with massive explosions ringing out in the cold expanse of space. The battle was brutal. Humanity's fleet, led by Vigilance, pushed forward with unrelenting force. The alien warships retaliated in kind, but humanity's maneuverability, speed, and sheer tenacity began to turn the tide. Thrax, who had been confident in his ability to crush the humans, was now facing a growing realization that his forces were being overwhelmed. But it was not just the space battle that was unfolding. On the ground, Colonel Rhodes led a team of elite soldiers into the heart of the alien capital. The streets of Tashmarak's capital city were lined with towering alien structures, and the fighting was fierce as the humans made their way toward the central control nexus. Each step forward was hard-won, and casualties mounted as the soldiers fought their way through alien defenses. Rhodes, ever the tactical genius, coordinated the strike with flawless precision. The humans had come prepared with alien technology, energy shields, cloaking devices, and weapons that had been reverse-engineered from their fallen enemies. The aliens, though deadly, were no match for the determination and ingenuity of the human forces. Meanwhile, above the planet, General Ellis engaged in a deadly cat-and-mouse game with Thrax's flagship, Harbinger of Eternity. The alien warlord, having watched his defenses fall one by one, had finally made his move. With his fleet in disarray, he ordered a final assault on Vigilance. The two flagships collided in a storm of fire and fury. "Stay focused," Ellis shouted to her crew, her voice cutting through the chaos. "This ends today." The final battle between Vigilance and Harbinger of Eternity was a deadly dance of destruction. Ellis's ship, battered and scarred from previous engagements, pressed forward relentlessly, as Harbinger of Eternity unleashed hell with its massive weapons. Thrax's fleet, despite its size, had been overwhelmed by human ingenuity, and now the fate of the war rested on the outcome of this final clash. In the heart of the alien capital, Colonel Rhodes and his team breached the control nexus, triggering the countdown to the destruction of the Central Command. The alien defenses faltered as the core systems began to overload, and the destruction that followed was catastrophic. At the same time, the final strike from Vigilance tore through the heart of Harbinger of Eternity, dealing the fatal blow to Lord Thrax's flagship. The warlord, realizing the tide had turned, gave one last order to retreat, but it was too late. His forces scattered into the void, broken and shattered. The war had ended. As the debris of alien ships floated in the aftermath, the storm had finally subsided. Humanity had emerged victorious, but at a great cost. General Ellis, standing amidst the wreckage of the final battle, allowed herself a single moment to breathe. The galaxy had been changed forever. The storm that humanity had unleashed had become the tempest that reshaped the stars. And now, with their enemies in retreat, humanity was poised to take its rightful place among the cosmos. The battle had ended, but the war's aftermath was just beginning to unfold. Tashmarak, once the heart of the alien empire, now lay in ruins. Lord Thrax, the warlord who had nearly destroyed humanity, was gone, his forces scattered to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The remnants of his fleet drifted in the cold void, a testament to humanity's resilience and unrelenting will to survive. On Earth, the victory was met with a mixture of relief, triumph, and mourning. The war had exacted a heavy toll, countless lives lost, entire cities destroyed, and families torn apart. But as General Mara Ellis stood before the Council in the newly established Coalition Assembly, she knew that the battle for survival had led humanity to a new, uncharted frontier. The victory was not just one of bloodshed, it was one of transformation. The Assembly Hall, once a symbol of a fractured and divided humanity, now felt more unified than ever. Representatives from Earth, the lunar colonies, the Martian settlements, and the various resistance factions gathered under one banner. The war had brought them together, and it was the war's end that would propel them into a new era of cooperation. As we look out across the stars, we see not just the remnants of the war we fought. General Ellis began, her voice steady and resolute. We see a new future, a future where humanity does not just survive, but thrives. A future where we stand side by side with those who once feared us, and we rebuild what we have lost. The room was silent as her words sank in. The people of Earth, and those who had joined the fight, had forged something extraordinary: unity in the face of unimaginable odds. They had shown that humanity could not only survive in a galaxy full of powerful, hostile species, but that humanity could change the very fabric of the universe itself. Lord Thrax is dead, Ellis continued, but the threat of war is not gone. We face a galaxy filled with dangerous powers. Some will seek to fill the void he left behind. But I believe we are ready. Our victory has shown the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated. We will defend our place in this universe. We will lead the way. Across the room, leaders nodded in agreement. The devastation of the war was still fresh, but now they saw a path forward. Earth's technology, once limited and fragmented, had advanced at an astonishing rate during the war, thanks to the reverse engineering of alien technology and the ingenuity of human scientists and engineers. They had the tools, the knowledge, and most importantly, the will to defend their future. We cannot afford to turn inward, Ellis said, her tone resolute. The universe is vast, and there are many who will challenge us. But there are also allies out there, species who seek peace, who want to rebuild, who understand the true cost of war. We must seek them out, and together we will ensure that this galaxy belongs to all those who desire freedom and peace. The words struck a chord with the assembly. They had fought to protect their world, but now they realized that their victory was only the beginning. There was an entire galaxy to explore, to shape, and to protect. Humanity's place in the universe was no longer one of isolation or desperation. It was one of influence, strength, and hope. As the meeting drew to a close, a representative from the Martian colony stood and addressed the assembly. General Ellis is right. We have earned our place in the stars. But we cannot forget what it took to get here. We must continue to build, to innovate, to protect. And we must never forget the sacrifices that were made to get us here. The room erupted into applause. For the first time in a long while, the weight of the past seemed lighter. Humanity had been tested in ways no one could have imagined, and yet they had emerged victorious. The storm that had ravaged their world had passed, and now, in the calm that followed, they could see the dawn of a new era, one where they would not just survive, but lead. As General Ellis stepped away from the podium, she looked out across the room at the faces of her fellow humans, their eyes filled with resolve. She knew that the war was over, but the work was just beginning. The storm they had unleashed had irrevocably changed the galaxy, and it was now humanity's turn to shape its future. Let the galaxy know, she whispered to herself. We are the storm, and we are just getting started. The future of the stars belonged to humanity now, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new, brighter era. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity would lead it into a future of peace, strength, and endless possibility.